fires 75% of the federal bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., and send them home packing because they never should have had that job in the first place.
Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, or DOGE, will likely be more of an advisory committee, we're told. It's going to be co-chaired by those two individuals, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. They just co-wrote an opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal outlining a key priority for DOGE, saying, quote, requiring federal employees to come to the office 5 days a week would result in a wave of voluntary terminations that we welcome. Let's get right to CNN's Renee Marsh, who's brought me over here to the magic wall. Look at this.
I love the way you say Doge.
You like Doge? So how many federal workers are remote these days?
So, I mean, before we even get into this, I mean, the goal of these two men, though, Jake, is really they hope that when people hear that they're going to put an end to federal or work from home, that many of these federal workers will quit and they'll be able to save money for the federal government. And that's the goal. So how many of these federal workers currently working remote? 1.3 million currently approved for telework. That's about half of the federal workforce. And of the federal workers who are working from home, they're spending the vast majority of their time in the office, 60% according to the Office of Personnel and Management. And then there's this subset of federal workers, about 10%. So that's 228,000. They are purely remote. They do not ever come into the office. But again, small sliver, that's 10% of the workforce. And it's because of this data that the union president of AFGE, the largest union representing these federal workers, put out this statement saying the implication that federal employees writ large are not working in person is simply not backed up by the data and not in reality. And they went on to say that if the Trump administration does want to make this sort of policy change, mandating that everyone be in work 5 days a week, that they would need to negotiate with these unions as a part of their collective bargaining process. But as far as what is the picture today, not all federal workers currently have to be in the office 5 days a week. And actually, each of the agencies, they determine their remote work policy depending on the agency mission.
Didn't President Biden try to encourage the return of in-office work for federal employees? Remind us how that went and what the status of that mandate is, if there is a mandate.
He did. So going back to last August, he started putting the pressure on these cabinet officials to get more of these workers to be back into the office 5 days a week. Fast forward to today, and let's go back to these numbers. 1.3 million today. That's half of the federal workforce still working from home. So clearly, Jake, that didn't go so well. The numbers are not where I think the Biden administration would like to see them as far as how many people are back in the offices 5 days a week.
All right, Renee Marsh, thank you so much. Staying in our politics lead, as the new Trump administration is promising change, questions over potential conflicts of interest are coming back in 2021. Only months after leaving the White House, Jared Kushner, who had helped lead Trump's policies in the Middle East, accepted a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia for his new private investment firm. Here is how Kushner responded to questions over the ethics and potential conflicts of that move at an event earlier this year.
I think what's happening in Saudi Arabia is one of the most exciting transformations that we're seeing now in the world of a country. And if you ask me about the work that we did in the White House, for my critics, what I say is point to a single decision we made that wasn't in the interests of America.
Here's one. Saudi Arabia in 2018 brutally murdered renowned Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. In response, then President Trump said this in a statement, quote, "It could very well be that the Crown Prince had knowledge of this tragic event. Maybe he did and maybe he didn't. That being said, we may never know all the facts surrounding the murder of Mr. Jamal Khashoggi. In any case, our relationship is with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia," unquote. In February 2021, the Director of National Intelligence released a comprehensive report that concluded Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had ordered the killing. This time, we should note, in the Trump administration, the second Trump administration, Jared Kushner is not expected to return to the White House, yet he is among a few names close to Trump raising questions over potential conflicts of interest. Joining us now is Richard Briffault of Columbia Law School. He crafted the Principles of government ethics law that's been approved by the American Law Institute. Thanks for joining us. So Kushner says he's going to stay a private investor. If foreign actors or others might give his company money to try to gain favor with the president, would that violate ethics rules with him serving as an outside advisor to Donald Trump?
If he's outside, the rules probably will not apply to him. I think on a lot of these questions of ethics, there's what are the formal rules on the books and what should people be doing. And often questions of ethics are doing the right thing, not necessarily the thing that the law requires. But the law generally won't regulate people who are actually not in government. And if he doesn't take a government position, and if he is not, and if his finances are separate from Trump's finances, then probably we're dealing with somebody who's just outside the range of regulation.
Elon Musk and his companies have received tens of billions of taxpayer dollars in the form of government contracts. Both Tesla and SpaceX have relied heavily in their early years on state and federal policies, government contracts, and loans. Now he and Donald Trump are inseparable. He has the ear of the president. Right. He's leading this new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. What about those potential conflicts of interest?
Well, as you know, DOGE really is a non-existent thing. If it turns into something, once Trump actually becomes president, maybe he issues an executive order clarifying what it is. Right now, as you said, he's basically just an outside advisor, a close buddy of the president, as a dear, and will have all sorts of influence and impact. But again, because he doesn't hold a government position, he is outside the law. They call it the Department of Government Efficiency, but of course it's not a department. It's a very clever public relations gimmick to use the word department. It's essentially it's a press release or a tweet, at least right now.
Donald Trump is selling Bibles. Today he put out how he's now also selling guitars. He's both an investor and proponent of cryptocurrency. Do those present conflicts for the president-elect himself? And how is that different, if it is at all, from, Barack Obama having a best-selling memoir while serving as president?
Well, I think the big conflicts with Trump will be things like his growing stake in the crypto industry. He is, I think, has become heavily involved in crypto, and of course his ownership of the parent company of Truth Social. And so again, we're talking about potentially billions of dollars worth of investment there, and his ability to take actions as president, regulating or not regulating media, regulating or not regulating, how do you regulate crypto? So I think the conflicts there are enormous. The potential for conflicts there are enormous. Because the president himself is kind of outside the scope of ethics regulation. When Trump became president the first time, he actually took some steps to divest himself of certain of his holdings in the Trump Organization and turn things over to his sons. At the moment, he's taking no steps of any kind at all to reduce the potential conflicts of interest. They went through a form, I think, of conflicts compliance. I'm not sure how much they really did, but they did go through a process of some sort in 2016, 2017 to try and reduce the conflicts from the Trump Organization. But Trump Organization was mostly in real estate. Now, a lot of it is foreign real estate, so there are interests. Foreign governments he has an interest in good relations with foreign governments where he has his golf courses. But I think the bigger question is going to be his stake in crypto and his stake in Truth Social. And these, I think, are areas of real conflict.
What about any of these possible cabinet members? Any potential conflicts sing out to you?
It's hard to know. I think it looks like the nominee for the energy secretary has interest in oil and gas. I don't know whether Mehmet Oz has healthcare interests, the new designee for the head of CMS. I think we'll find out more. They are required to make disclosure. Many of them are. They are required to make disclosures. They would be subject to conflicts rules. They would be subject to rules governing disclosure of their interests, and either divestiture of some interests or putting some in blind trusts. So the conflicts rules will apply to them. But the president, for separation of powers reasons, presidents in the past have followed conflicts rules, but it's mostly because of an effort to do the right thing, whether or not they were actually required to.
All right. Thank you so much. Stay in touch with my team, okay? When you see things, let us know. We'll have you back to discuss. Appreciate it.